can hear you.
Can you guys speak up? We can't hear you.
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear anything now?
Now we can.
No, we can't see him.
We're good. Is it these? We're ready?
Yep, thank you.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals meeting Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. This is a hybrid participation meeting. So if you're dialing in on a phone, please use *6 to mute and unmute. This meeting is being recorded by MCTV, if anyone's interested in getting information from them after the meeting. So, do you want me to talk about the administrative thing? or-
Yeah, just explain that there are no new hearings.
All right, due to administrative error, there are no new hearings originally scheduled for this meeting. Will now be heard on May 24th, 2022. And before we start tonight, I'd just like to thank, we would like to thank Lynn Fiddler for her years of leadership and service on the ZBA and her continued efforts now as a select board member in the town of Marshfield. We will definitely miss her. So we'll start with Anthony Durkin, case 22-29.
Tight quarters, huh?
The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct an 18 by 6 foot front dormer and a 9 foot 3 by 10 foot 10 rear dormer to create a half story on the property located at 75 Marginal Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel M06-03-08 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Good evening.
Okay, for the applicant, I'm Steve Bjorklund, here representing the Durkins. And I think most of you will remember we came in, actually this is the third meeting that we've had on this, and we've made some adjustments in the plan. And we were asked to calculate this the same way that Ocean Street was calculated, which is a permit that you guys had granted in the past. So we did that. I brought that plan, met with Andrew. I think he'll say that it's calculated the same way, and we have to be under 515 square feet or under in order to meet that 2.5 story, and we are at 515 feet. So I think we wanted, and we made the adjustment. Basically, they added an exterior deck and took away some of the interior of the building, so the exterior deck doesn't count as square footage.
Okay.
That's pretty much it, unless somebody has a question.
Any questions from the board? Questions from the audience? Andrew, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted clarification because on the plans, we've got one set of plans here has 29 feet, and then the other set of plans shows 30 feet. So then when I really started to look at what is the actual square footage of the second story below, but regardless of what that is, I did go through and recalculate everything. You're actually at 415 square feet now, so you're way under. You're actually 55%. And because of the deck that was added, you guys gained a nice feature and came into compliance with the bylaw. So I think this is a really good compromise here. Appreciate your work on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing that there's no questions, and a move to close 22-29, Anthony Durkin. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Chris Belazos, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Robert Hensley, aye.
Okay, now I'm gonna move,
Did we take attendance?
no, we didn't. So now I'm gonna take attendance before we finish. Would everyone please sound off that you're here?
Chris Belazos here in Chambers.
Larry Keane, yeah.
Brian Murphy here.
Robert Hensley here.
And now I'm gonna move that we accept 22-29, Anthony Durkin, 75 Marginal Street, and approve that based on the site plan approval and the language that goes with that we've all read already. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Chris Belazos, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Trevor Hensley, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
All right,
Brian, I just
you're
had a
up.
question.
Yep.
Conditions, as-built, occupancy, anything like that?
I guess it's standard anyways, Andrew,
As-built.
right?
They'll need a certificate of occupancy and a building permit. They will need an as-built because they're not making any change in footprint.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That's it.
All right,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Good luck the rest of the night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
All right, now we have 22-36, Patrick Conley. The petitioner is seeking a site plan approval in accordance with 305 12-02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic. I got beat up on that word last time. Was it
Photovoltaic.
photovoltaic? Installation on the property located at Commerce Way, which is further identified for the assessor's maps being on parcel D09-01-36A and is located in the I-1 zoning district and the planned mixed-use district, PMUD. Hey, Patrick, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So thank you, Patrick Conley from Beals Associates, and Cam Knowles is attending via Zoom. He's from Galehead, so he can help answer any questions that I don't know the answers to. Since the last hearing, we provided some additional information to answer questions that came up in the last hearing. So I don't know if you want to run through that information. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has. I can just run through, I guess, each item.
Yeah,
that
if you
makes
want to go
sense.
through it quickly, that's fine.
Sure. All right. So I'll start with, there's the application. I guess I'll start with the cross-section, Andrew, if you don't mind. This was in response to an initial request from the town planner.
Yeah.
And so we showed it last week and then just followed up with an electronic copy. But this is showing the solar panels on the left side of each cross-section and the neighboring residential communities shown on the right for each cross-section. So you can see that it's slightly higher and then it slopes down as you move north. And it also shows the distance between the proposed project and those residential structures. So there's a good bit of distance between the two different uses. Next is the fire department letter. The question came up last hearing if we had reached out to the fire department. So I reached out to, I think it was Deputy Chief Corbo. He said he was going to review the project as part of the normal permitting process. So it sounded like he hadn't at that time. I think he's received the information since then. We still haven't heard back from him, but we're open to, I think his comment was.
I can comment on that for you if you like.
Sure.
So that's just part of the normal building permit process, is they're just gonna review it as part of their normal review as they would any building permit process, is what he's referring to.
Okay. Another request was, I think it was from Andrew, was a data sheet for the battery that we're planning on installing. So we followed up with that. I have to admit that's a little out of my specialty realm, so I can't speak to that. But Andrew, if you have, or any of the board members have any questions, Cam might be able to answer that. But the gist is it stores the energy that can't go directly to the grid. And it's a ways to kind of even the generation over time and regulate, the supply.
Yeah, I had a couple questions on it, if I could. Last time we spoke, I believe the lifespan of this project was 20 years with an extension up to 30 years. Was that correct?
Yep.
Pretty close. Now, what is the lifespan on these batteries? Like if one goes in there, it's not going to last 20 years, correct?
I'm not sure if Cam's available to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's information we can get you guys pretty quickly. I'll just have to look up what the warranty is for the battery. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it should be pretty easy info to get.
Well, what I was getting at with that also was, hazardous waste as far as a battery that goes out of commission being removed from the property, that it wouldn't be stored there. That's something along the lines of a battery is out of commission, that's removed from that location, I'd hate to see at the end of 20 years, this project come to an end, there'd be, 15 batteries at the location that need to be addressed,
Yes, yep,
something along those lines.
right. And there's a requirement in the zoning that Galehead would be responsible for removing the panels, and they,
Sure.
yes,
Yeah, damaged panels, batteries out of commissions, whatever.
Right.
But, there would be a time frame that, that they would be removed, that maybe under the order of conditions with it, that, the battery, that's out of commission, it's gonna be removed, and, 6 months later, it's still there, oh, no, we're gonna remove it. There's gotta be a time frame that it's,
sure. Yep,
kind of speedily removed.
yep, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Sure.
What's the storage capacity of the battery, do you know? How much energy does it?
So the number right there, yeah, where the clicker is, 2,702 kilowatt hours,
What
is
is that?
the full capacity.
So in layman's term, what does that mean energy-wise?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we can get you a number as in, like daily household use, something like that, if that would be more helpful. We can break it down that way.
Yeah, some kind of a breakdown. I don't know what that means, but that number means, but what does it mean to an ordinary citizen or an ordinary person, and how does it translate into that? That's all. That'd be a good answer to get. Thanks.
Got it. Yeah, we can get that for you.
So then, I guess, moving on, if there's no other questions, next
I have
item.
one more question.
Yeah.
I know you guys have repeatedly said it's a win-win situation, but any studies have been done with respect to dead batteries? What kind of damage could they cause the environment, to people? Is there any studies done that you can provide us with that show a dead battery, or these batteries aren't going to cause harm to individuals who live near it, or or the surrounding landscape?
Sure. We can follow up with that. In a general sense, I can say that they are safe. They're widely used in projects. Solar projects are
Doesn't mean
commonly.
that just because it's widely used and no one's found out about it yet, doesn't mean 20 years we're not going to find out, like we find out all the time, that it causes cancer or something like that. That's my concern, especially, I'm not going to be living near there. I won't be probably living here in 10 years, never mind 20 or 30, but it is something that the residents should know about, be aware of before anything happens. So.
I can speak to a little bit of that, and really the only thing I can say is that all these things have been, UL tested. They've all gone through significant, safety testing, and there are, a lot of building code protocols set up for their, for basically separation, fire separation, and how these things are supposed to be stored in a safer manner as we know currently. And that's kind of, building codes are constantly changing, and I think that that's kind of going to be the driving factor on these things, is going to end up being my responsibility and the building code's responsibility to kind of keep up with them.
Is there any concern at being so close to the gas plant?
I wouldn't think so. These are designed, and we've
Just
designed
being
it
self-contained.
electricity is all contained. There's a 50-foot perimeter around the property line, and then the gas plant's, even further. But yeah, we put in those proper distances.
Yep. So this is an unmanned site, pretty
Correct.
valuable piece of equipment. What are you doing to secure it?
So it's got that perimeter fence all around, 2 gates, we'll have security lighting, all the mechanical transformer, all that stuff will be locked. It's kind of, that's the standard. It's kind of hard to walk off with the solar panel without.
I'm not talking about the solar panel, I'm talking about the battery. Seems like an item that might be of some value to move.
Sure, I mean, it's an industrial scale battery. I think it's hard to, again, just, rip and remove it
You can
and,
have closed circuit on site?
Brian might be able to take
What's
it
that?
out by himself, huh?
Closed circuit on site?
like cameras. Cam, do you normally have cameras in these?
It's a good question. I don't think that's part of the plans here. That being said, the weight of the battery is pretty significant, and it will be bolted to the ground as well, along with being within the fence line of the project.
Okay.
Is that it for everybody?
I have one last question. I probably should have done some research myself, but, so how old are solar panels? What's the oldest thing with this many solar panels? You know how old that technology is?
I mean, decades. Solar panels have been around since the 70s, but obviously what we use today is vastly
Different,
better
yeah.
than.
But have there been studies on the environment and on people based on the new technology, this size?
Yeah, so what I should say is solar panels, it's an inert thing. It's the only thing flowing through it are electrons. It's a silicone wafer inside glass.
Everything's safe until someone develops problems 30 years from now when no one's around, but I just wondering. That's
Sure.
Yeah, there's also just nothing that's emitted from the solar panel along with the battery.
We have any questions from the audience? No. So, now, Nancy, we have to get a,
You guys have to just.
Peer review,
decide
right?
on a peer reviewer.
okay. And so we have to do that and then submit that to them?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Usually it's about 30 days,
okay,
so that would bring us to the June 14th meeting.
June 14th meeting. So we'll continue this to June 14th?
Could I get some clarity? So when do you decide on the peer review?
We'll probably decide that tonight.
Tonight, okay.
We'll decide who
And
we're
then
gonna
they'll-
use, and then we'll get a quote, right, and then we'll send it to Patrick? Yeah.
Okay. And then for June 14th is typically the peer reviewer come in, they give their presentation and we
Yeah, they'll
respond,
go,
or?
they'll take, they'll do their review of what you've shown us.
Right.
And then they'll give their feedback on it to
Okay.
us and you.
Okay,
All right?
cool.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, so we're gonna continue 22-36, Patrick Conley, Commerce Way to June 14th. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Chris Belazos, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Grover Hensley, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we have 22-24, Marshfield Commerce Way LLC, continued. Do we have representation for them?
We do.
Yeah, sorry.
So, is Ed's coming tonight, right? Or is he on Zoom?
And it should be on Zoom, I believe. Yeah.
I don't see him on there, do you?
Anand, did he say he was going to be on Zoom?
I thought he said he was physically coming.
We didn't hear. He didn't say one way or the other.
Do you have his phone number? Do you have Ed's phone number?
I don't know. Tim might. Actually, I think Tim does. Do you have Ed's number?
You wanna call Ed? Sure. Oh, I don't care, sure.
Yeah, just.
Nancy, you said the presentation was here somewhere?
Yeah, everything that was initially filed is on the town website, right there. The new things that they filed are on the town hall drive. They haven't been moved to this section yet.
Oh, I thought the presentation was on the website.
Yeah, everything that the presentation was initially submitted, so that is on there.
Well, tonight is also for the audience to speak.
Right.
So
I
we
don't know if
could,
you guys want to go over the new things that you submitted.
We could provide a short overview presentation, but we weren't anticipating a detailed overview again.
we could, what's it?
This is more of an informational for the.
Yeah, it's just informational for the public, right? Tonight?
Yeah, but they also have the opportunity to ask questions as well.
Right, so we can ask,
Yeah.
go to the audience. Do you guys have something you'd like to present, or do you want to go to the audience first, and we'll see when Ed gets here? We can discuss everything after?
Yeah, I think that's okay. We were kind of hoping to get Ed's input initially,
so we
just to
can-
sort of frame the conversation, but,
Sure.
Brian, do you have to open the hearing, or did you open the hearing?
I did, I opened it, yep. All right, so if the audience has questions, they come through me, and that I'm sure they'll hear them, but you're right, you're talk to me, not to the client, the applicant. Okay, all right, go ahead. I need your name and address.
Of course. It's Kathy Gasper.
Yep,
My address is 17 Snowy Owl Lane.
okay.
I wanted to present to the zoning board over 125 people who are living in that area who are going to be impacted by this project and that have issues with the project. If I can-
Sure.
What I needed to express to the zoning, planning, and conservation board is I feel like you're the keepers to our community and to protect that community. And I know that Mill Creek has come in. I was present for the last meeting that you had with them when they were giving their project plans. And I guess I feel as though it's being rammed down our throat because it's 40B. And I don't understand why senior and disabled housing isn't more in this town than having a conglomerate like Mill Creek come in. Duxbury doesn't have a Mill Creek type apartments in their town. The beautiful seaside community, I've been here for 63 years. I've lived and worked for the town for 27 years. Mill Creek built their rental properties. The projects as planned will be 300 units with 500 beds. Mill Creek properties listed are in Framingham, Hopkinton, Medford, Natick, Needham, Quincy, and Watertown, and Marshfield, which they sold within the year after they built to a company called Madison. 40B developers are not losing anything by providing low-income housing to our town. They have no investment in this town. Phase 2 is on a smaller parcel of land than Phase 1, and they want the 300, 500 beds. The water pressure up there is extremely low. We need an additional tower that we haven't gotten. O'Dara Madison is a joke with the police and fire in this town because they have an abundance of calls up there. And I don't see that our town's going to be providing police and fire with what they need for manpower for these additional units. Martinson Elementary had 25 new students that were enrolled just this year from Phase 1. For years, the box turtles were an issue up there. I've spoken to people who were on committees to put a skating rink and put a pool up there, but we're told they would not be approved because of the box turtles. I was recently told by our town administrator at a meeting that the turtles have been relocated to the Couch Cemetery on Union Street, if you're looking for them. But within the last 2 weeks, one was dead on the road on Commerce Way, had been run over by a car, so I guess they missed one. When I attended the zoning board with Mill Creek, they were only speaking of the project as it's affecting them in our area. The true picture is all of the projects presently proposed. There's a daycare going up there. There's a private school going up there. There's a dog park going up there. And affordable village housing project is also planned for proprietors and commerce. So I guess their traffic study isn't as accurate as they had presented the last time they met with you. They also didn't do an extensive traffic study. They didn't take into consideration, which everyone who lives in this town knows, summer is the worst time to be traveling the roads. Also, I need to bring up the fact that back when they did Phase 1, they had promised the town that they were going to do something about the intersection at 139 where Roach Brothers and the middle school, they never did a thing. That was over $100,000 project that they had committed to, and they did nothing. And I don't know why the town never held them responsible on Phase 1 for that, but they didn't. We trusted the zoning board to do what's best in the interest of the whole town, and includes keeping the project density equal to the Phase 1 for the total number of units. And I guess, without reading from my notes, I guess what I'm really disappointed about is they're up in towns that they've already sold 3 of the properties. Framingham, Hopkinton, Medford, Natick, Needham, Quincy, and Watertown. We're not those towns, we're not those cities. We're a small seaside community that we don't need housing that gives nothing back to our community. They don't support our schools. They don't support our fire and our police. They are transient people that come and go, and I don't think of our town as a transient kind of people town. We all have investments here. So if, I know there's no stopping them because they've gone under their 40B cloak. But if there's any way that we can scale this project down, that our community, and especially the kids and the people in this town, I mean, that area alone is getting dumped on big time. And you know, I go out the driveway the other day, there's a little red fox going by. It's wooded up there, but they're gonna now take down how many acres? It needs to stop. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Do you guys have anything to say, or just?
Appreciate the comment, appreciate the feedback. I don't think we have any particular comment on those, but we appreciate the feedback.
Is anyone else from the audience?
I'm just
Name and
curious
address,
what-
please.
You guys must consult with the public works people, right, on this project?
Well, we hired an outside consultant, but
Okay.
everyone in town is also working on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was just, because I heard someone from the Public Works Department on a Meet the Candidate express his concern about the water.
Water, yes. Quantity and use,
in
daily
that
use.
area.
We're looking into all of that. And we have the information from the unit they built, so
Okay.
at least we have real-time information there also. So, name and address, please, for the record.
Bernie Dupuy, 6 Weathervane Lane. I also live in that area, and we have definitely noticed a drop in water pressure in there since Moderna has built that complex. I also want to point out, again, people can make a lot of promises, but I always judge something by not by what they say, but what they do. And in the case of this particular project, with their past experience, they promised a real thorough traffic study on Route 139, the intersection by Roach Brothers. It was never really done. They also promised to widen that intersection, both from coming from Furnace Brook Street across the way and going down Proprietor's Drain, crossing the other way. If any of you have ever gone to Roach Brothers and tried to pulling out of there during heavy traffic sessions, you've got traffic coming out of Furnace Brook from both the schools, school buses, et cetera, and other people heading to work. Trying to pull out of there and make a left-hand turn is a really dangerous experience because you get people going across to Roach Brothers, people coming out of Roach Brothers trying to go left. I've seen accidents or near accidents missing there. It's a dangerous situation. There's no left-hand light there, which they promised they were going to put a left-hand arrow in. Was never done. There are a lot of empty promises that this company made and never followed through with. And I think that we need to judge them by their past experience in terms of what they, not only what they did do, but more so what they haven't done. They also said they were going to put a paved sidewalk and pathway into the ball fields in that area. That again has not been done. And I want to know who's holding them accountable. Is it the zoning board? Is it the planning board? Is it the, I want to know exactly who's holding them accountable for all of these things that, they're making promises but not fulfilling. This is a dangerous situation. The density of the housing, just to put things in perspective, I live in the Seasons, the Highland Green area that's next to us. Between the two of them, we've got a total of 55 units at the Seasons, 22 units at Highland Green, a total of 77 units on approximately 17 acres. All right, think of that figure, 17 units on 17 acres. They want to put 300 units, 300, okay, on 12.68 acres. Think about the density of that. What is that actually doing? I mean, a typical residential area, the lowest one that we see in the town of Marshfield is 5,000 acres per building site. 5,000, square feet per building site. If you use that factor at 5,000 square feet per building site, you're looking at about 4.5 units per acre. Okay, and that's the minimum density in terms of that. This is gonna be 23.7 units per acre if we go along with the 300. The density up there, it's already unbelievable. There's gonna be more traffic coming out of there. There's gonna be more children going to school, and I'm not against kids. I was a former teacher for 37 years, okay? But it's gonna have an impact on our schools. It's already having an impact on Martin's school with 25 new kids this year. That's not counting the high school and the elementary schools as well, the middle school. The traffic volume is just getting out of control. It really and truly is. It's a dangerous situation. Water's an issue. And also, I'm looking at this area. Now, the current area is further down on near Commerce Way. This is much closer to the old Mount Skirgo watershed area. Where's the water gonna run off from there? When they did their first phase of Madera 1, that area was all wooded. Now you could probably count in two hands how many actual trees were left there, because it was decimated. They destroyed thousands of trees, literally thousands of trees that were taken down, and God knows only where they went, but they were taken down, destroyed, and where's all that water runoff going to go? Now they're going to propose another project closer to Old Mount Skirgo. Where's that water all going to go? I mean, they've got a septic system up there, their own sewage proposal thing. All of that water has to drain somewhere, and it's getting closer and closer to the Old Mount Skirgo watershed. You know, are we gonna hold them responsible after they build it and then a year from now it's sold? Who's gonna be responsible? The new owner? Is the town gonna say, gee, I'm sorry, you can't drink your water, now it's polluted? I think we need to answer those issues and questions before anything is agreed to as far as going further with this thing. It has just gotten out of control, totally out of control.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys just want to take it in. And do we have anyone else that wants to speak from the audience?
Phyllis Burns, 11 Hayloft Lane.
Yep.
I have a map here that Greg Guimond suggestions that he's made to change this proposal from the original Mill Creek to.
Yeah.
Have any of those suggestions been followed? I mean,
Well, they've been sent to us and sent to Mill Creek, and they've been sent to our outside consultant that we're using. So I'm sure they will be discussed with what Greg has drawn.
So you can't answer questions like, is the conservation buffer space of 100?
Yeah, those are all his questions in there are valid, and we're getting answers for them.
There are no answers.
We don't have them today. I don't believe. Do we have any of those answers, Pat? No. We don't have them today. We are chasing those answers down, though.
Okay. We're all fearful that, I mean, I second all this, there has to be a left turn signal. I'm just surprised there haven't been more accidents at that intersection by Roach Brothers. Because normally when you get to a busy intersection like that, you just expect there's going to be a left-hand arrow. I mean, people do, and so the people who don't know the area start making a left, and the people coming toward them, it's really very, very dangerous.
It's scary, I know.
So that has to be solved, and the town has to take responsibility. I mean, make them do what they said they were going to do in the beginning. That's all.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Joe Pacific.
Hold on, Joe. You okay? Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Joe Pacific, Wilson Road. I'm just, first off, seconding all the excellent comments that the previous three speakers have made. This is not one of those projects that's out of sight and out of mind, just because it's tucked up in a corner of the town. And you may be expecting the vast majority of residents to think, oh, I don't see it, I don't deal with it. But as the previous three speakers have pointed out, there are major impacts here. Personally, from an environmentalist standpoint, I think an extremely thorough analysis of what's going to happen to any underwater wastewater injection needs to be done. The fate and the transport of that underground injection needs to be determined. Again, this is just, it's, you know, some people think because they don't live near the airport, you know, it's out of sight, out of mind, but we have to deal with it. And listening to what all these people are saying over in that neighborhood, they have to be given the full weight. Also, we need some sort of estimate on the impact to schools. How many students are they projecting? I heard earlier 25 new enrolled students at the Mockinson since phase 1 Madeira went in. And I would definitely want to hear more about what their projected impacts are to the schools. Continuing from Madeira 1, as somebody pointed out, as I've always pointed out with these projects, other major projects in town, where is the follow-up? All kinds of conditions are attached to projects around here like the Beacon 40B, and we don't hear any follow-up. So we need to have a follow-up on the conditions with Madeira 1, the impacts from Madeira 1, and we need a very thorough report on projected enrollment from this phase. And it has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Is there anyone else?
Hey, yes, this is John Considine, 14 Seth Sprague Drive, representing the Proprietors Rules neighborhood. Similar comments to the prior 4 speakers. We are in a unified front with the other communities that voice similar concerns. As someone that lives in that community and will be impacted by that community, does the board, are there protocols in place to pause development? You know, are there any things that we can do as citizens and taxpayers in that neighborhood to ensure that, because it sounds like from many of the other speakers, there have been promises made and promises were not kept. How do we ensure that these promises that were made will be upheld and honored and respected in order to continue to move this development in the right direction? Are there things that we can be doing today to pause to ensure that some of the comments that have been made will be acted upon to move this project forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get his address, Nancy?
Seth Sprague Drive. Lindsay.
Nancy, did you get his? I did. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Oh, hold, sorry. Who is it?
Dennis Scheckler up at Highland Green,
Okay.
43 Snowy Owl. And just a couple of questions, it really as follow on. I've heard the word that there were promises made by the builder or developer to the town. And I hope that it's not kind of a promise, but it was a contractual agreement that the builder would address the issues at the intersection of where Road Brothers is there in 139. And one way to mitigate things like that, and I'm sure this is something that hopefully has been thought of, but you know, things like that that are part of the contract, if it was, can be put forth against occupancy. So you don't get occupancy unless you make those contractual commitments to the town of Marshfield. So I mean, there are ways to make sure those things get done. I certainly would agree that that is a very challenging intersection that needs to get dealt with sooner than later. And frankly, we question that in the event of some horrific accident taking place, who's actually liable? And I'm not sure anybody can answer my question.
No, I don't believe anyone here can answer that question.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it. But anyway, that's really all I had to say at the moment.
I don't see Tony on there still. Is he on there?
I don't see him.
No.
I'm here.
Oh, could you answer that question, Tony, or?
I kind of missed like the second half of the question. Like, is there like a brief version of the question that I can try to help with?
Yeah, I think.
He'll answer,
The question, the brief question was, in the event of some type of horrible accident within that intersection, who's liable?
Sorry, snowy out.
Well, as a, I don't know, as a general legal matter, whoever caused it. I mean, it's like any other accident anywhere else.
No, I understand that. My question really is so let me ask the question a little differently if I might. Was there in fact a contractual obligation on the part of the builder from Ladera 1 to amend that intersection, that situation?
I don't know the answer to that question. I doubt it, but I don't know the answer for sure.
Ed, did we have anything like that? And I remember they did work on that intersection. I remember Greg talking about it, but I don't recall what it was.
Mr. Chair, I've been catching up on a couple of things. The question is in regards to something that was involved with the Modera project that they were supposed to have done. all the off-site work that the Modera project conditioned in your comprehensive permit was completed. I had to inspect it, I had to document it, and Mill Creek did do all of it. There were a couple of sidewalks, intersections, crosswalks, and then there was a traffic light. The term is used. I'm sorry, it escapes me at the moment, but it was out at the Roach Brothers Furnace 139 intersection. It was a traffic light adjustment with the other intersections due to the new traffic.
Timing-wise.
Timing. I'll think of it in a second, so forgive me, but senior moment. But anyway, synchronization. Thank you. So it was an update to the synchronization. They're also proposing that for this project as well, but that we'll talk about it on a different night.
Right.
Okay. So I think you did answer the major question, which is apparently there was not any type of, beyond synchronization of lights, any type of solution to the quagmire that exists at that intersection.
I can speak to that too, and I think that's something the planning board has been pushing for really hard a lot with a lot of these projects that are in the PMUD. I believe there might be some sort of conditioning with the marijuana dispensary surrounding the traffic light, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
but,
this guy.
And then there's the other traffic light that's going to be going in at South Shore Bus. I know there's a lot of discussion and desire by the town to improve that intersection specifically.
Bob Calvin not coming tonight?
Okay.
No, Tony Rowley is here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you have a question?
Yeah, Maureen O'Malley, 12 Old Woodward Lane. Two things. We were told that intersection would be widened. There would be a left turn lane, there would be a straight lane, there would be a right turn lane. That it was going to be straightened out coming from Furnace Brook around that bend, was going to be moved and shifted so that everything lined up properly. Now, whether or not they put it in the final document, I don't know, but that was what we were told. Number two, I specifically asked in phase 1, how many students came from their prior units that they had built. And I was told that they were not family oriented, that they were professional people that rented their units, and there were no children. So that turned out to be not true.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Can I just ask if we do find and we have the evidence
that the first project did not go through with over $125,000 worth of renovations to that light network. Are you open for us presenting it to you?
Sure, but it would have to be in the agreement and the agreement we had with them originally. It would have to be included in that document.
All right, but if we can't produce...
Yeah, if you can find something, absolutely, you can submit that. Yep.
So, Mr. Chairman, can I just interject here? So the applicant's traffic engineer is the same traffic engineer that was for the Modera project, Jeffrey Dirk from Vaness. And I dare to say Jeffrey's probably one of the most knowledgeable people of the 139 corridor. He certainly knows what the road safety audit recommendations were and what they agreed to do. There was some turning lane work and some signage work. And I think if we ask Jeffrey to be prepared to say, not just for this project, but, hey, could you recap what was done at the last project?
Right.
I think that would help the members of the public here tonight.
And he's coming to our next meeting, right?
We would like to, I think, I was
Invite him.
mentioning to the developers that we'd like to do that at the next meeting and
Yeah.
devote night for traffic and
Traffic.
whatever else you'd like.
Well, traffic study is big, so.
Right.
Okay, so obviously at our next, we're hoping at the next meeting, when they come, Jeffrey Dirk will be there to discuss, and we can ask him to bring his prior information and the current information that we're going to be dealing with also. Okay. Go ahead.
Are these meetings, I know they're being televised, are they not recorded as well?
They are.
So we could go back and fact.
MCTV has most,
get the
yes.
promises made by Modera that have
Yep.
never been fulfilled, and that's on record. That's official
That's-
record, is it not?
Well, it's there to be seen. The official record would be the document that we
minutes.
created between the town and
The minutes.
our minutes from the meeting.
But it would be in the minutes. Because the other thing that happened with regard to Modera 1 is they were cut back originally, I think, from 276 to 240 units,
It's 270 down to 248.
248. And is number 248?
248 was what they built.
Yeah. However, did they not increase the number of 2 and 3 bedrooms?
They did.
To increase the capacity?
You're correct.
So the number might have been the same, but the actual population, in fact, reality increased. Am I
That's
correct?
actually one of the questions I
Sort of like
have.
slipping the deuce of the deck somewhere in there that's, we're not quite exactly seeing up front, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Brian.
All right, so now I guess we can get into the information that you had for us and that Ed wanted to review.
Yes. So,
Go ahead with your,
I'll-
you just did the public.
thank
Get
you.
that up first.
Thank
so
you.
now they can hear us.
I was asked to show at 7:30. I thought getting here at 7:15 would be plenty of time, so I was late for my early arrival.
They listening
So,
to me.
But that's okay. I thought, just like you did.
It worked out fine.
Right, right. So, for everyone's edification, my name is Ed Pesci of Pesci Engineering. I'm the board's consulting engineer, and I'm actually part of a three-member team. With me tonight is Pat Brennan from Amory Engineers. Pat is also a consultant to the town. He's actually doing some work for the water company, the water department, excuse me. And we have Pat's done some consulting for the planning board and knows an awful lot about the original design work that was done on the drainage system for the industrial park. So we asked Pat to be a part of this team because of his experience in doing so. So I'm going to just lead off with a couple of highlights and talk a little bit about the things that we had asked Mill Creek to take a look at, and they have begun to do that. Certainly, they responded. I think I told you that the total package was 115 pages last
yeah,
night.
we saw it.
So late at night, I printed everything out, but I had my full day already packaged, so I didn't get to do all the review. But I will say that there are several things that were sent. First is a letter responding to my original peer review letter, my overall letter of April 22nd. Attached to that also is a full package of the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act conservation and management permit issued by the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife and has been duly recorded as required at the Registry of Deeds. It is dated 4 October 2005. I think we were concerned or like to make sure that whatever mitigation was required back when the industrial park was being permitted initially, that whatever responsibilities are assigned to this lot or to this parcel have been taken care of. I haven't even begun to go through that, but that's also been provided. There was a separate, also a separate report by my traffic consultants, Ron Mueller and Associates, and Vanessa and Associates responded just to that, right? So that's the other enclosure that's here. And lastly, from Hancock Associates, their site civil engineer and land surveyor, they responded to Pat's water and stormwater comments that he provided me, and were the traffic and stormwater and water comments were an attachment to my original April 22nd letter. So I'd say that the highlights here are probably the big ones that I would like to try to get some focus on tonight and discuss is the water and stormwater, which I'll devote some time, ask Pat to step up and discuss. Second means of egress and the fire department review, because I think that was important. The fire chief mentioned that to me. In my discussion here, we did talk in my original letters, my initial construction, comment letter. I did mention a couple of other things here that I would like to just go over. There's a fair amount of topographic relief on the site, shall we say? And there's a change in elevation. Obviously, they're taking advantage. They're trying to take advantage of the natural topography and slope it from the high topography and the, if I point to this, I'll just say lower left for everybody's benefit, to the upper right, lower right to the upper left. So I believe it is the southeast corner, which is the high end, and then the northwest corner towards Commerce Way, which is the lower elevation. And so I know there's been some discussion on other projects that I've reviewed for the zoning board regarding earth removal, so I did ask them to do an earthwork analysis so that we could understand what quantity of earth is going to be removed from the site and understand some of that. During the Madera project, some earth was removed from the site. It was not a significant amount. It was done early in the project and did not take a considerably long period of time. But I know there's been some other projects that I reviewed for the town where there was literally, shall we say, years of several months several months of removal that was potentially going to impact the neighborhood. So I think that's an important thing to make sure we document. None of that documentation is in there. I will say that while the applicant is allowed to apply for a comprehensive permit with preliminary design plans, that's what we've been given. So not a lot of detail has been provided yet, but I think from their responses that they are certainly looking at the answers to other questions that we're asking, and that detail is forthcoming. But I'd certainly like to kind of hear from them how that would work. So before I turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, Pat, why don't you come on up and tell everybody kind of your opinion of the stormwater and of the water supply pieces.
Excuse me. For the record, Pat Brennan with Amory Engineers. As Ed mentioned, I'm assisting him on the review mainly because of my experience. I reviewed every project up there from Roach Brothers back for the planning board. So I'm very familiar with the entire drainage system up there, the roadway network, the infrastructure. And when I first started looking at this, I was able to find in my files the original drainage calculations that were done for it was the Enterprise Park subdivision, which created Commerce Way. And in those in that file, I found the drainage calculations that showed how much water was anticipated to come off this site during various storm events. So what I did is I summarized those rates and volumes of stormwater for each of the storm events that we designed for and forwarded them to the applicant's engineer, and basically told them, look, this is what the system in the street was designed for, so you cannot exceed that amount coming off your site. In their response, they provided a summary table of rates and volumes showing that they will be less than what was originally anticipated to come off the site. However, there's no calculations to back that up, so I can't really confirm that. It looks like what they're going to try to do is runoff from the roofs, they're going to try to infiltrate on site as much as possible. Runoff from the road network, they are going to capture, and that will be conveyed to the stormwater system in Commerce Way and eventually end up in the basin that's down Commerce Way on the other side of the street a little ways. And again, the rates and volumes that I provided to them for what that system was originally designed for, as long as they keep their rates and volumes under that, then that system will work correctly the way it was designed originally. So that's, from the stormwater perspective, that's the main thing. I just don't have the actual calculations to verify what they've provided in their summary.
Right.
We will provide that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as far as the water, I did start looking at the water usage the water usage in town, and comparing that to the town's Water Management Act permit, which is what the town is authorized from Mass DEP to withdraw from our public water supplies on an average daily basis throughout the year. So I started looking at that. The only problem is I don't have the 2021 numbers yet. And because of COVID, the numbers in 20 and 21 are a little bit off from prior to that. So what I did is I went back from 2015, and I'm just trying to compare all those numbers. Unfortunately, the water supervisor's been out for a couple of weeks. There's been some personal issues there, so I was unable to get those 2021 numbers to finalize my review on the water. I did ask them to do a hydrant flow test. They did do one. In their response, they said that the results of that would be forthcoming. We just haven't received those yet as well. And the hydrant flow test is pretty important. I personally did one out there in 2008 as part of some work I was doing for the water department. And with this 3-story buildings, it's possible that they may need jockey pumps to actually have enough pressure on the 3rd floor and enough pressure for their sprinkler systems in the buildings. But again, the water system stuff hasn't been resolved yet. The stormwater stuff, as soon as I get the calculations, I can confirm the numbers that they gave to us for their summaries, just to make sure that it's, again, below the rates and volumes that the system in the street was designed for.
So they did respond in their May 9th letter from yesterday that they did perform a hydrant flow test, but the calculations will be submitted under separate cover, so we don't have that information yet. And of course, Pat hasn't been able to get the 2021 data just to confirm that water supply is not an issue. I think that will happen. I think it will not be an issue, but we need some more time to resolve that. It's not resolved. So I think that I think the bigger area for discussion tonight is second means of egress, density, earth removal, those kinds of things. I don't think we can answer all of them yet.
Yeah.
They've stated that they'll be looking at some answers and providing that to us, but I figured that's something we could.
So at least we
engage
got,
them with tonight.
we get the questions over to them that we need answered.
Right.
Okay.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you guys would like to, the applicant and the team would like to answer any of that at this point?
Should we take it in order, or should we?
Sure. I think we've on water and stormwater, I think, Anthony, unless you have anything additional to add, I think that pretty much sums the state of play. We've provided the information, understand that there's more information forthcoming, and you obviously have to take some time to digest that.
Right.
With respect to the second means of egress, we're obviously the site, we intend to have safe access to the site. Yep, sorry. With respect to the second means of egress, well, actually, we will, of course, ensure that the site has safe access. We're going to be working with the fire department and hammering out exactly what they need to make sure that life safety access is available for all buildings. With respect to the earthwork analysis,
Yeah, so we're working on the earthwork analysis. It kind of goes along with if there's changes, if we add a second egress, for example, if the grading changes for other reasons, that might affect the numbers. But we are working on those numbers, and we'll have something as a future submittal for the earthwork. What else is on that list?
I think that's it. Just we'll be providing more information as it comes in on the hydro flow test.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question on the original project? Those tall buildings and stuff, there's no elevators in any of the buildings?
That's correct.
And there'll be none in these?
At the moment, we are not showing elevators in those buildings. Obviously, Madera Marshfield was a very successful project. We saw very quickly a lot of demand. They're not required in these types of buildings, but it is something we can look at, something we have looked at in the past.
Why wouldn't you put them in then if it might be convenient for the tenants? What would you make that decision based upon?
It's a
Not to put an elevator in.
Yeah, it's a cost-benefit analysis. Simple as that.
Another question, and you don't have to answer this, and it's public record, but when that other property was sold, what was, what was paid for it and what was the selling price? Do you know? It's public record, so, but do you know what it was?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the numbers.
More than 50 million?
Yes.
Yeah. More than 70? More than 100?
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes maybe putting an elevator in and put a little extra thing into the traffic study, like I've heard, and I know 139, I don't know who we have for, what Mr. Pesci said, that, we have this guy who knows everything about 139, and I don't know him, maybe he's a wonderful guy, works for the town, but
No, he's
anyone
consultant.
let me finish, anyone who drives on 139 knows what a disaster it is, everywhere. Whether you're down towards Jackinson, CVS end, up the other end, the lights are all screwed up, you're backed up, you're waiting to come in from the Pembroke end, and you can't get over to the left because everyone's taking a left to go out to Route 3 North. It gets worse and worse, and I forget because I never came home during the day, but it's brutal. It's brutal. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is, and you talk about summertime, that's when it gets just a joke. It takes you. Probably 20 minutes, that's rather should take you 25, 30. So, I mean, it's a huge concern, especially these folks who talk about you come out. I even did. I don't shop at road stores like I used to, but if you got people not paying attention coming the other way, if that was supposed to have been done, and I don't know why that wouldn't have been done as part of that original thing, but I think it certainly should be done here for the safety of everybody. So, anyway.
Thanks, Steve.
I live here, I drive here, and it's there's got to be some concern for the people who live here, And one other question, do I have these right? Quincy, Hopkinton, Framingham, Watertown, Weymouth, Medford. Where are the other sites?
Quincy. Oh, I got them all here, Steve.
Well, how many are on public transport? Are they all on public transportation? And let me ask you this question. Do you know if there's some move afoot to move public transportation down from Situate to Marshfield? Are you guys aware of anything like that?
Do you know public transportation?
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know of any future plans. I mean, I know a number of those other Mill Creek projects are vehicular based and not near public transportation.
Like which ones? Quincy is. Hopkinton, I think the commuter rail was out there. Framingham certainly is. Watertown's downtown's got public transportation. Weymouth, you can get to Quincy to Weymouth close. Medford certainly has it. Middleborough, and they have the commuter rail too. So just about, and I think Weymouth, it's close. But other than Weymouth, which is right beside Quincy, they all have public transportation.
Weymouth has commuter rail.
Sorry, we don't have a product in Weymouth.
What's that?
We don't have a product.
Oh, okay, good. Then that's good. That was the only one that didn't have public transportation. So they all have public transportation except for the Marshfield one at this point, right?
I don't know if that's exactly true. Some are closer to transit than others, but some of them are certainly in suburban and outer urban areas without immediate access to public transit.
Well, which one? Quincy does, Hopkins does, Framingham does, Medford does, and Watertown does.
Yeah, I don't think that's an exhaustive list. I know we have a project in Needham that's purely the town of Needham does, but the location of the project is purely vehicular based. It's not anywhere near.
Get a bus from that place to wherever you need to go. But what else?
I don't know the fullest of all of Mill Creek's projects they've built.
From what this is then Marshfield will be the only town that doesn't have public transportation.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe, maybe if you're investing this much money, maybe you know something the rest of us don't, but I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, the proponent has, obviously has no intention of worsening any of the traffic issues on 139, and that's why we have.
No, I get it. I'm just saying. I mean, I get you guys are here, and it's not, hey, listen, you're doing your jobs, and you're not here to shove anything down, and you're doing what you can do for, so the fact that they make that much money has nothing to do with you. You're here to do your jobs, and you're doing it well. But I just wanted to, voice those concerns, that's all.
Yep.
Can I just ask also?
Yep.
They're putting up new housing, and you're not putting elevators. For a person who uses a wheelchair that wants to rent a unit on the second floor, what's going on with that?
How can they build without, it's a new building, they need to adapt to the ADD.
Well, from what they're saying, if they don't have to, it's not part, I think they can rent the first floor of the building, so.
How do they know who's gonna go into the office?
No, I'm just saying that's what they're
claiming.
claiming.
Okay. And then as far as the point I made that they come into a town, like 8 of the cities that they have built in, they've already sold 3 of those properties. So there's really not a big investment on their behalf. They put them up and they sell them. And then we don't know Madison. Madison didn't sit in front of us a year or so ago and give the pitch. Now Madison owns it.
So, question for you. You've got 7 or 8 other projects that have been brought up here tonight. Could you provide the board, not tonight, but some future hearing, provide us with a breakdown of the other projects in terms of density as compared to the one that's proposed here, number 1, so we can make a comparison to see if there's an effect on those other communities to determine what, if anything, might happen here. Secondly, if you have similar densities and similar sizes in other towns, would you be able to provide us with some information with regard to the breakdown of the people who are there? Because there's been specific questions raised as to the effect on the and the burden on the school system. So, if you've got another 300-unit project someplace else or development someplace else, could you provide us with some information as to the amount of school children that has typically generated across your similar projects?
I can. I think the applicant is here to ensure that the impacts of the project, are properly mitigated through the mitigation package that they're providing. There are certain impacts that is appropriate to discuss, such as traffic, stormwater, water usage. There's other. There may be other impacts associated with development in a town that's not really appropriate for examination under 40B. So we're more than happy to provide information on water usage and other impacts of our prior buildings. Frankly, the scope of the board's review ought to be limited to those types of impacts.
Okay, so the answer is you don't want to give me that information.
We're happy to share that information, but just, I think really the scope of the examination is sort of the impacts that Ed has been reviewing.
If you're happy to give it to me, will you give it to me?
Yes, I think we can.
Thank you.
Just wanted to caveat that it's not necessarily something that's appropriate to discuss in a 40B context.
We have any more questions from the audience?
Jerry Allen, 12 Old Woodlot Lane. They mentioned that they did a flow test. Do you know where they did the flow test, where the hydrant was, and what time of day it was?
Yes, for the record, Andy Donato with Hancock Associates. We did it, it was a Thursday at 8 a.m. We coordinated with the water department, and we did the hydrant in front of the site.
So you didn't do the hydrant at the high end of the line, down by where we are?
Well, I believe we are required to do the hydrant closest to the site, which is what we did per.
Which is fine for them. We have the issue with the water now. We are at the other end of it. We're with the hill. The second floor of my house and my bathroom area, definite notice in water pressure. My concern is if there's a fire up at our end, it's gonna suck the water dry out of the hydrant. I don't know if that's been done.
That's not part of our scope, but I believe Mr. Brennan is.
Well, it's part of our scope.
Yeah, but I believe Mr. Brennan is looking at the.
I think you
the
should
water
look at the
supply.
whole thing, especially where there is this water issue. And there's more building going up there.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you people have taken that into consideration.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And you know, and I know, there's a project, there's Modera 2 going in. Right beside it is another lot of land that's vacant. Great spot for Modera 3.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
This is a stupid question, but when you're talking second egress, is that only being addressed for the new building second egress or for that, our whole community? Because there's really no way out other than the Commerce Way loop up the back for the rest of us.
I think they're talking about specific to the project,
Mhm.
to get in and out of the project. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, they're definitely talking about that property
Just the
that they own.
project only.
Right, just that property.
So there'll still be just proprietary commerce to that.
Correct. Two directions.
When will the next meeting on this be?
We'll discuss that at the end. It doesn't get posted, but we will say it here today.
Wonderful.
We'll determine that.
I heard the comment, something about not being under the scope of what they're concerned with because of 40B. And I have to sit here and just shake my head in terms of saying, this is not exactly what I call a good neighbor.
Yep.
You know, we're all in this together. Most of us, probably all of us in this room, with the exception of those people hired by Modera and their consultants, don't live in this community. We do, we are concerned. We're concerned about water and lack of water pressure and it being is resolved. We're concerned about water runoff. We're concerned about the impact on schools. We're concerned about the impact of intersection safety, lives of children crossing that road. That's a dangerous thing. Even with a pedestrian signal there, that's a very dangerous intersection. None of that has been addressed. And for them to sit there so blatantly saying, that's not our concern, we're not involved with that, because it doesn't fall into the scope of 40B. I ask you, where's your conscience? What do you live by? I mean, come on, you're affecting thousands of people living in this town and you don't care? What is that saying about you and your company?
All right, thank you. Do we have any more comments, questions?
I have one other quick one. What is the name of that document that was filed in 2008 that's the environmental document you mentioned?
So,
2005.
so I'll read it again through you, Mr. Chairman, to answer the question. It's the Mass Endangered Species Act Conservation and Management Permit. It's public records now because they submitted it, it's public record anyway, you can look it up at the Registry of Deeds. But it'll be part of the online website, right, Nancy? So the online, you'll have online access to it. It's from October of 2005. It was also amended in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and the amendment is also part of this. I have not read through it, but there was a requirement for some mitigation to be done, and they attached with the application originally the email correspondence from the MESA staff, Mass Endangered Species Act staff, in the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, that all the mitigation had been satisfied. And I wanted to read what that meant. So part of it was a cash or a monetary donation, which sometimes MESA does. And so I wanted to take a look at what it was. So now that I have that, I have some bedtime reading to work through that. But
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
Because I just don't think I'll get an answer anywhere else if I don't. When the box turtles were relocated on Union Street to Couch Cemetery, how was that approved? Who did the approval on that? And was that done in conjunction with Phase 1 of?
the box turtles were removed from
Well,
where
so
to
they-
where?
Actually, what happened is they weren't removed. The mitigation is that they took this area of town and then moved and protected another section of town that wasn't protected. So that's all. They didn't move any turtles. They moved a protected area from here to free up the ability to, if there were turtles in there, and then they put a conservation restriction on another parcel in town.
However, Mr. Chairman, just operationally, so everybody hears this, during construction, they're required to do, believe it or not, something called the turtle management plan. So because the turtles don't care what paperwork's been filed at the Registry of Deeds, they could still be out there.
Yeah.
So during construction, you have to have training, you have to have qualified people, and you have to have certain things in place to protect them and not their mortality, so that they do not get hurt, killed, or what have you. So there's a number of things that they do. It's part of the turtle management plan prior to construction. So that's a thing they'll have to do, just like they did during Modera. They do a sweep and an inspection, and it's not the Modera staff, it's their environmental consultants that actually do that, the folks that Division of Fisheries and Wildlife work with all the time. And their environmental staff was Lucas Environmental, if I'm not mistaken, in the last episode. Lucas Environmental, well-known firm, known them for years. They came out and did a sweep to make sure there were no turtles in the area they were going to work. And then they put silt fence up around that area so the turtles don't go wandering in when they're not there. Then they do a check in the morning, and then the vehicles and equipment get to do their work inside this protected or cordoned off area. However, every employee gets trained on what to do if they find a turtle wandering in there, and they get relocated so that they can be safely moved out of the way.
So can I share with you?
The dead turtle?
Well, no. This is what we're looking at now in our neighborhood.
Right, that's the,
Okay, but do you see the name and phone number of this company? So every time you drive up Proprietors, across the whole length of Commerce is Wind something or other with their phone number.
Wind River.
How pleasant is this? Not black sheathing that we moved in and looked at. We're looking at this that Mr. Baraki put up. So add salt to the wound of what we're living with. This is wrong.
I can't see what you're looking at, so
When I
it's
approached the
okay.
contractor this morning.
Can we
Sure.
take that for the record?
Sure. I have another one, I'll give it to you, Brian. When I approached the contractor this morning on my way to work in an innocent, why are you putting up that sheathing with the advertisement and the phone number? He told me I was argumentative. He walked away from me and
That's exactly part of the barrier for the turtles that they would be putting up. It doesn't have to, let me finish. It's not us that did it, it's not the board that did
I
it.
know that, Mr. Baraki did it.
But they don't have to have phones and names on the silt fence. It can just be black silt fence.
That's what we moved into, a
Okay.
black, but now
It's
they.
only temporary.
Well, when they put up your project, they tore it all down, and now they've just put it back up over last Friday and today, and now we're looking at this instead of black sheet.
Are you saying that that's at the project site right now?
Okay,
Yes.
you come up for
Okay,
Friday.
I don't know where she's talking about.
That's why I'm explaining, I'm sorry, I'll bring my, when you go up Friday,
Yeah.
when you get to the top of the hill, the whole length of Commerce to the Modera line is that sheathing. And what's up there now, because it was all broken down or whatever during construction, what's up there that was just put in last week and today is with that phone number and name on it. Instead of just the black, it's that. It's hideous.
Okay.
If you were selling your home and your prospective buyers were driving up, wouldn't you be proud of that black sheeting with that phone number? I have no problem with the black sheet. It's why do we have to look at the phone number and the company's name?
You shouldn't be asking me, sorry.
Okay, I just.
I appreciate the comment.
We're taking
By the
this
way,
in.
that's called silt fence, just so you're using the right term. I want you to be able to tell your neighbors that.
Silk fence.
Silt
Silt.
fence.
It had
So,
silk.
silt.
S-A-L-T.
So it's to allow water to pass through the mesh
And hopefully stops the
fabric
turtles.
and retain the silt. It's an erosion control fabric.
But why do we have the?
It's only temporary. It's not the end of the world.
Been
But I
there
know it
2
is to you,
years.
and that's your prerogative to give that to the board.
Exactly. The black has been there for the 2 years I've been living there. This is brand new, and I feel like it's spite. Why wouldn't you put black back up? I'm all for the turtles, trust me.
All right, do we have anything further, Ed, or?
Yeah, anybody,
Bernie?
hello, can I say something?
Yeah, hold on, we have one more question from the audience here, then you can speak.
Not a question, but a comment. That black barrier has been there, it's supposedly temporary. It's been there almost 3 years now.
Okay,
Almost 3 years. I don't call that temporary.
all right. I didn't see your name. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road talking.
Joe P.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, an interesting point about that CMP that was issued for a previous project, or was there a CMP issued for the phase one? Can someone tell me?
Do you have the
Yeah,
information?
yeah, I can give a little bit of the background there, and apologies for some of the confusion and the use of the word phase. So the larger Enterprise Park subdivision is a priority habitat for the eastern box turtle and was originally intended to be developed in 2 phases. The project site was actually originally slated to be an athletic center. That, along with 3 other properties, were phase 1 of the Enterprise Park subdivision master plan. And so the original CMP covered those 4 properties. That was referred to as phase 1 in the CMP. And the property owner, who, for the record, is who put those fences up. The current seller of the property paid, at the time, all mitigation required for all 4 of those original properties. This one was obviously never built. The phase 2 amendment was brought in, and that actually covered the Modera Marshfield site, and the mitigation that was required prior to construction on that was paid separately associated with that project. So now that we're looking at this site, we don't have to pay the mitigation for that now because it was already paid in conjunction with that proposed athletic center that was never built. So many years ago, as one of the first components of the Enterprise Park subdivision, the mitigation for this site was paid by the seller.
Mr. Chairman, is the speaker saying that this current proposal is exactly on the location of the formerly proposed athletic sports complex?
He's saying it's part of the original phase that was covered in for the comprehensive
Management permit.
the permit.
Okay, well, it's just confusing because, without having a plot plan or, a plan of parcels in front of me, it's hard to really know if the so-called mitigation or identified development areas for development is exactly what has been, subject to mitigation. So I really don't know how this CMP is, in a sense, I guess, transferable to the proponent on this project.
Yeah, so it is the exact same. The parcelization has changed a bit, and some of the land that was in that original parcel was shifted over to where the Modera Marshfield site is now. But that was sort of the intent of including the correspondence from Natural Heritage. That correspondence confirmed first that Lot 6R was entirely within Phase 1, and second that Phase 1 of the Enterprise Park Master Plan, all mitigation had been completed for that area of land. So the entire area, as confirmed by Natural Heritage, of our project site has received its full mitigation package with respect to the conservation management permit.
Our submittal that we sent yesterday includes a map that shows which parcels are phase 1 under the CMP and which parcels are phase 2.
So will we have that online eventually, Nancy?
Yeah, that'll be on there this week.
So Joe, that will be on our website that has all the information for this project.
No, I thank you. That's what I want to do. I think people should be alert and should be reading that CMP and should be looking at the maps and considering also, since that was granted or the mitigation fee was paid, what could have changed in the meantime. Offhand, I don't know how valid the CMP is. For how many years is it valid? And could something have changed? And again, I just want to caution people that you know, we talk about turtles, saving turtles. Turtles, those turtles and other turtles are like an indicator of the environment that they're in. You know, box turtles need a very diverse environment in order to, you know, breed and, you know, lay their eggs and survive. And so we're not just talking about eliminating turtles, like you can go to the pet store and buy a turtle and feel good about it. You're talking about eliminating a whole environment and range of conditions that the presence of the box turtles indicates is there. And it's the environment you're really talking about, that you're destroying that particular ecosystem, which, again, as a previous point of speaker pointed out, it has a valuable role in terms of purifying the water that runs into the nearby aquifer, and you're gonna lose that now. So the role of that land in terms of you know, cleansing and supplying water into the nearby aquifer is now going to be completely taken away, and that's also a factor that should be considered. But I would like to see the CMP. I hope it's online. Otherwise, I'm going to have to bother you, Nancy.
No bother at all.
Get a hold of all that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, question here, Seth Sprague Drive. So someone, a resident that I actually have had a turtle in my backyard. So question there to Joe P. With this respect to this CMP, in layman's term, what is a CMP? And when I do read this thing, what specific items should I be looking at as a concerned resident and citizen, so that I can form a reasonable opinion for the next meeting? Joe, can you address those questions?
Joe, would you care to answer?
I'm not here as the expert. I'm sure one of your consultants that could answer that. I could just say it's under the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. It's a conservation management permit. I'm kind of familiar with those. I haven't dealt with them recently, but I think the consultants, it's sort of incumbent on them to explain that to the board and to the concerned citizens.
Yes, like we said, we're going to have it up on the website. You can get all the information you need there, and then if you have questions, you can come back to the board with them, and you could also put them in writing to us through an email.
And the process is kind of lengthy.
No, I understand.
You know, they would have had to have walked the site. They would have had to have done some survey work. They may have already done some tracking work on the turtles up there. I think that's several years ago now when they did that. When I remember hearing about it when that sports complex was proposed. That's many years ago now, and I just wonder if all the conditions are the same or if it needs to be reevaluated.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. It sounded to me like the attorney there, or the representative, did say that. It sounded to me like in his own terms, he used the word "things have changed" or the word "change." So, it sounds to me like maybe that plot land has changed a little bit.
All right, well, thank you. Now we're going to move on to our next question.
Mr. Chairman, you can certainly ask the applicant to bring their expert next meeting and just show the phase one and discuss the CMP so that, and the highlights of the turtle protection plan so everybody understands.
We can do that. We have one more question.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. So I just come back from the school committee meeting, and there
Can you just for the record,
sorry,
Nancy? Thank you.
So I'm just coming back from the school committee meeting, and they've already one of the discussions there was Martinson. It's being overcrowded. They have to relocate the I think pre-K grade to another school, and they don't know, what the future may bring. So we already see it in the schools right now in regards to issues in regards to Moderna being built. You can only imagine if we get this built, what issue it's going to cause the schools and how much it's going to cost us in the future in regards to school matters, whether it's going to put an addition on or build a new school or whatever else like that. Watch the school committee meeting. I was tonight to see Tom Miller talking about it. it's already rearing its ugly head just with Moderna. This project right here, it's gonna be, I can only imagine what's gonna go on. So going through some of the things online, I'm looking at acquisition costs, and this is actual acquisition cost of land, $8,437,500. When I look at the purchase and sales agreement, and the only thing I see in here is that the purchase price for the property shall be the amount equal to $28,125 per residential unit in the final unappealable development approvals for the intended improvements here and defined. So I see an actual land cost, but I don't see it in the purchase and sales here. But the whole thing is that the VRT, the seller of the land, is going to get $28,000, $125 per unit for every unit that's built. And used an example of instead of 300, which is what I'm understanding is uses 240. So I don't know if there's something worked out in regards to that. So if instead of 240, he's going to receive $6,750,000 at that 240 mark. I know there can be some stipulation, and where VIT appears to meld himself without selling, it doesn't appear that he's selling the land, but he's selling the land based on how many units are being built. That at some point when the committee gets together and puts the stipulations in, I would like to see whatever, if this holds up, one is that the town gets 50% of this, and VRT can get the other 50% of what the sale cost is. The other thing is that I see the parcel of the property there, but for Exhibit B it says back parcel plan, and that's what is the back parcel on that?
Are you talking about down the? There was another 6-acre parcel originally, but I don't believe that that's involved anymore. Is that the back parcel?
It's on the purchase and sales agreement. It's on the back last page, I believe. Exhibit B, back parcel plan.
Andrew, do we have anything like that?
The purchase and sale.
I had a hard time hearing Eric.
He's asking about the back parcel, Exhibit B.
Yeah, so the purchase and sale agreement is included in the application materials. The seller owns a parcel behind ours, and that plan just identifies the seller's parcel that's in the rear of our property.
Okay.
I didn't hear him.
Oh, so he's saying that.
So it's just identifying a parcel that the seller will continue to own that's at the rear of our parcel.
So the current owner of the property that you're looking to acquire, he's still going to own that piece in the backside.
That's right, and that just so.
That means in the future he could.
So that parcel actually, as part of the conservation management permit, is heavily restricted, and is there. I believe there's no structures that can be built on that parcel pursuant to a restriction on that property. I think some
So
storm.
that house could be developed in the future.
No, there's
that's part of
no structure restriction on that parcel, if I recall. Yeah.
That's part of that turtle restriction piece.
Yeah, that's an area of
Conservation
priority
management.
habitat that he can do some clearing and grading work on a portion of it, but I believe he can't build any structures on that parcel.
Because of the turtles, what you're saying, right?
That's correct. It's pursuant to the conservation management permit.
But when they were building the field, that rock there, weren't the blocks those in, didn't they relocate them?
They don't relocate them. What they do is they set aside another parcel that they can consider habitat for them in another piece of the town that's suitable.
All right, so I mean, I could.
Rather than, you're allowed to pay, you could pay into a fund to mitigate
I heard that.
building on that property, and that fund protects the
This
turtles.
back parcel, that could be something that could be worked out in regards to relocate the turtles in another part of town. and if they want to develop it at a future date, right?
I don't know, because I don't know what the frontage or anything would be considered in there. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
But I do want to just get back to, in regards to the actual land cost. How come, in regards to the actual cost of the land, it's not the purchase and sales agreement?
So I think the 8 million number that you see in the project eligibility letter submittals, that includes hard and soft costs. So there's some, environmental consulting fees and things like that. So that's not going to be what, that $8 million is not what's going to be paid to the seller. That's going to incorporate a series of other due diligence costs that the applicant's expending in acquiring the property.
All right, so that'll be the cost to develop, is what you're saying, in regards to acquiring that property.
It'll include things like title and survey review and
how many, is that a rough number in regards to the purchase price, based on the $28,125 per unit to develop, if this goes through to develop the property?
yeah, I think that's an estimate of the total costs that includes all of the different costs.
So in your estimate, what are you estimating the total, your units at the moment? Because they have 240, so you basing that on a 240 unit estimate?
I don't know what was used for the underwriting for what we provided to Mass Housing.
Yeah, it's been a while. But it's probably based on the project plan that was submitted to Mass Housing.
And that's 300 units, yeah.
What is it?
So they believe it's 300 units, because that's what was submitted to Mass Housing.
So 300, that might get it up to the $8 million, roughly around there.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
All right, Mr. Gannon,
All right. Do we have any other questions?
Not really a question, but a comment. I've heard a lot of talk tonight about the box turtles and saving the box turtles and so forth, and I think that's important. Someone mentioned before about that being an indication of an aquifer safe zone because they're inheriting that. So I think we need to consider that as a possibility. But going beyond saving box turtles, I think we need to take a look at the makeup and community of the people in that area. There's a lot of senior citizens up there, myself included, okay, who are affected by, we're an over 55 community, the whole area in behind Roach Brothers, and that's a much older community driving, okay? And I'm not saying, I still think I'm an excellent driver, but at the same time, it's a dangerous area. It's a dangerous area, and I think that really needs to be addressed. And I haven't heard any real solution tonight about doing that, and I think that's a prime concern for all of us as residents. Not only the safety of those who live there, but the safety of those kids going back and forth, crossing on 139 into the Boys and Girls Club, where they're going to school. Those are major areas of concern, along with the water. So we need to really seriously look at this entire project in its entirety, not just what Modera thinks is important, but what the town and the people living in the town think are important. That's what we really need to consider in making any decisions here.
Thank you. So I think everyone's discussed with it, and I think the next thing we have to do is set up our next meeting. What are we looking at, Nancy?
I would say June 14th, only because May 24th is full.
Okay.
There are like 12 new hearings plus some continued ones.
So how's June 14th work for you guys, and Pat, Ed?
So, Mr. Chairman, I have no issues with that date. It'll give me time to review and comment on their responses. They're also,
When we have the
virtually
traffic-
half of the responses say we'll provide you that information later, right? So, some of that is going to be later, but I think it sounds to me, Mr. Chairman, that I've heard that discussion of traffic, discussion of the previously promised traffic safety improvements for the Modera project should be discussed at the next meeting. Sounds like perhaps at the beginning of the meeting, saving traffic for the majority of the meeting, they could do a brief overview of the CMP process, what was done, what is planned to be done during construction, and so on. So that can be discussed, so everybody's a little bit clearer on that. If there's an update on drainage and/or water, was going to ask Pat by then, I think a month from now, Pat will have a better handle on that.
Okay.
Be able to give the board some guidance and direction on water supply. And I think I'll bring Kirsten Braun from Ron Mueller and Associates. Kirsten did the review for us to give me her opinion of VAI, Vanessa and Associates, responses to her. So I'll get that prepared, and we'll get that submitted before the next meeting, so at least you'll have that. And then traffic can be the majority of the evening, but subject to other concerns that you may have. So that's what I heard
And any
briefly.
new stuff that submit.
I would love for them to tell us, because it's traffic related, are you planning to go see the fire department and meet with the fire chief this week or this month, or?
Well, we are reaching out to them. We'll try to reach them this week, if not next week.
Okay, because I know the fire chief's interested in having that conversation with his deputy chief, who manages project reviews, obviously. So I think that would be a good thing to talk about. The second means of egress I'm referring to.
Correct,
That'd be a
yeah.
good thing to talk about at that hearing. At some point, I thought it was a beneficial thing that the planning board, the Marshfield Planning Board, provided an alternate development scheme.
Yep.
And I did furnish that to the applicant team. And I'd like to get some comment on that from them eventually.
Okay.
But we don't have to do that till you're ready, but I figured that's probably an important thing to do, since the town planner's office did some time with it and put some time into it. It's a lower density and 2 means of egress, so it's perhaps more attractive to the neighbors, but I know it may not be as attractive to the applicant, but that's the kind of thing we start the negotiations with.
Okay. Thank
So.
you. Yeah. All right, so June 14th, you guys are okay with that?
Works for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Yep.
Would you be kind enough to provide me with, or the board, with a list of cities and towns in Massachusetts where you had these projects?
Yes.
Yes. And then, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm just thinking, you're a national, or maybe international, you're at least a national company, right? National, second, third, fourth, and, I mean, is there some way, if you can provide it without going to, but also, how many, in other states, how many of these projects and how close they're related, they are in relation to public transportation, second. And then thirdly, I mean, being as big as you are, I mean, I just find it very unusual that this is the only city and municipality right now, that right now is not on public transportation. What, if any, information you have or people in your company have, the possibility, and I've heard nothing, I'm not insinuating if there's anything, but if you've heard anything, if you'd be kind enough to share that with us.
Okay. It's difficult for us to collect that information across the whole company.
Yeah.
It's a big company. We look at all kinds of factors when choosing a site. Sometimes it's public transit, sometimes it's access to highways or roads or vehicular access as well. So, I can certainly provide a list of our local projects.
So
but
in
nationally,
Marshfield,
it's
what was the attractive feature then, if it wasn't public transportation? But it was, apparently it was a factor in all the other ones that unless you give me a more comprehensive list that shows ones that aren't on public transportation. But my concern is, so what was so attractive about Marshfield then to you guys?
Well, as people said, it's a seaside community, very pretty. This particular location is easy access to the highway.
It's not pretty up there right now,
Oh, we think it is.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly, traffic is a mess. I mean, so that's only gonna make it worse. It's probably one of the worst sections that I've seen. It gets worse and worse all the time. So, I mean, that's a huge, I don't know, so you don't think of it, because you're just going by your daily, routine, you're trying to get through in your life, and then, more recently, I've been here more during the day, it's horrendous. It's horrendous on each end, all the way down, and I don't see how years ago I had a partner trying to put something up at Queen Anne's Corner, some kind of a shopping center, and some people complaining about the traffic, and his line was, if it was a 40B, how can it get any worse? So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing here. I mean, it can get worse. That's the problem. And I understand you guys can do whatever you want. It's whoever's fault that enacted 40B didn't change it. So you guys can do what you're permitted to do under the law. I'm not, and you guys can, you know, it's a free market economy. You can make whatever you want. But I just, you know, I understand you can do what you want, but there's really, it's real concerns for the public here. And I know, you know, you have to do what you have to do, and you're doing a nice job, but you really have to take that into consideration, because it's if you ever drive here 139, you come down to the summer, coming to CVS, trying to get up the other light, and now there's more and more curb cuts, more. You got coming out of DPW. There's supposed to be no left turn there. People take lefts, cut across four lanes of traffic. It's just, you know, I don't know. It's something you really have to contemplate, and I think we as a board, and we as a town, and we as the people we've hired have to make sure, we have to make certain that those are in place and that you follow them. So you can get away with whatever you want, not get away, but without us putting those parameters in place. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to do that. That's all. But you guys have done that. Thank you.
Real quick, I'm sorry. At the last meeting also, we didn't have the exact percentage of where the town was for affordable housing. Do you have that percentage in and at this point? Because the studies, based on the census, and the census wasn't back. So we don't actually even know where we are for the 10%.
Well, so we know where we are currently, but we also know that when the 2020 census numbers are finalized, which to my knowledge has not happened since the last meeting, that will put downward pressure on the percentage that the town sits at for the state subsidized housing inventory, because the denominator of that calculation is based on the total number of units in the town, and that only moves every 10 years when the census is finalized.
Yeah.
So
what percentage are we at currently with the old
We
census?
thought last time
It's
you
in
said
your
like
project
8.6.
eligibility letter. It's in
Yeah,
your
so
project
I
eligibility
believe,
letter.
don't quote me, I believe it's approximately 8.7 when you factor in the Modera Marshfield project.
8.7 is what I remember.
Yeah, that's what I know.
And that number will have some downward pressure when the 2020 census numbers are brought in.
Now, with that being said, if, say, 240 units were approved here, just going off of the old project, what would that bring us up to?
Maybe June 14th.
Are you familiar with that?
So I think I provided the analysis with the proposed 300 units, and that would bring us above the 10% on current 2010 census numbers. As Mr. Guimont and I discussed last time, it's impossible to know for sure. Based on our estimates of the anticipated growth in the town since 2010, our calculations think it would still keep us above 10% with the 2020 numbers, but we can't say that for certain until we have the 2020 census numbers finalized.
And any ETA on that?
I do not know how long.
That comes from the government, right?
It comes, unfortunately, from the government from 2020.
Now, when you say 300 units, so you think it will only give the town a 1.3 bump, if that?
So,
Because I'd hate to go, what I'm getting at, I'd hate to go through all this and be at 9.4% and be, doing this all over again.
Yep, no, understood. The total number of units, I think, is approximately 8,000, 9,000. So based on that, I think we had it at about a 2% increase.
Yeah. So 2% is going to bring us up to.
What we need to get to, yeah.
Well, yeah, okay.
Well,
And Pat, real
but that's
quick,
2010
with the water
numbers.
usage, you said there was a kind of skew in the water usage because of COVID. Was that a skew up or down, more or less?
It was up in 2020 because more people were working from home.
Working from home. So we had an increase from. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, two other things to think about long-term before you close up for the night. Can you tell the applicant where we are with the architectural peer review process? I know there was a selection that was underway, and I just don't know if that ever happened.
Oh.
There was a firm that was being looked at to
The
do an
architect,
architectural peer
yes.
review. Did that ever start? Did it ever kick off, or do you know?
I don't know.
You know, Nancy?
I don't know if they've started their review, but
I don't believe they've started the review.
So who would have selected
heard
them?
from them.
That's my question. When the board have selected them?
I think the board
I
did
mean, I
select them,
remember.
didn't they?
No, you gave us, didn't
No,
you give us?
Attorney Rob Galvin did.
Oh, Bob Galvin gave us a number.
So Bob is the one who
Yeah,
recommended
he
a particular
contacted
firm.
I know I saw an email from them.
And I did, but I don't know
I
if
haven't
they
seen
were they
anything since.
engaged?
I believe so.
Well, in order to be engaged, I think, Nancy, you were going to ask the applicant for additional application funding to cover that, right? Did you already do that?
Yes.
Did we add?
Okay.
We got the
All
request.
Yeah, we
right,
got
so
the
that's number
request.
one. Number two, can you tell me if in your, I just don't remember because it's been a while and I didn't look at it specifically. Did you do a fiscal impact analysis?
We did not.
Project? We did not. Okay, so a typical project would require, doesn't require it, but if the board so feels, the fiscal impact analysis is done and it looks at all the revenue the town gets from having this project and all the costs it has, including school costs. And it sounds like that was brought up again tonight, and
Yeah, I would ask them through the chair, maybe we could have that as a specific request. I don't know what's wrong with me, but to have them do that.
it's a separate consultant that does it type of thing, and it's not an unusual request to look at what the tax benefit of the project would be. And usually, a project like this would be a net project
Yeah, we should have a
benefit.
positive coming out of it.
But I wouldn't know. I know there was some discussion earlier tonight about not having children in the Modera project. That was never discussed, just my recollection at all the hearings. But, it's certainly no secret that there's going to be children in this one.
No.
Some, obviously, with 3-bedroom units.
Well, we
But-
heard from the audience there was 25 children in just the elementary school alone.
Okay, so,
25, and that's not including the special ed services that children are receiving also for transportation and for regular ed students in transportation also. It's not just a matter of they're in the school physically. There are sped children, and there are also buses and sped buses there.
So that fiscal item, would you guys be
Yeah, we can
supply that with?
circle up with Attorney Galvin on that in preparing looking at the cost of that.
All right, thank you.
The food service department, or the school department, they can give the information on how many free and reduced children in this town. Doesn't that impact also as far as low income? They have a number on how many students
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know anyone
have
here
to fall
does.
under those low income guidelines in order to get free and reduced.
so that's a different income level that you're referring to, that are folks that are getting, students that are getting meals assistance. That's not the same level of income review that is done for a Chapter 40B project. So the Chapter 40B project restricts for the people that are on the affordable, not low income, but affordable units, have an income limit of 80% of what's called the AMI, the area median income. So you can't make more. In order to be selected as a tenant in that unit, your household income, husband and wife, cannot be more than 80% of the AMI in your area. So it's to purposely target folks that aren't at the 100% level or 120% level of your AMI, area median income. So that's what it's for.
People who are on Social Security.
It's anybody, any age, anybody.
So if you're an individual collecting Social Security, you'd be eligible to go into Mill Creek?
If you don't make more than 80% of the AMI, area median income, whatever that is.
I only asked because when Mill Creek was going in, one of the first applications was from an individual who was on Social Security and was told, no, she didn't make enough.
She made too much?
She made too little.
Oh, well, that could be part of it too, but I don't know.
If somebody's on Social Security and they're applying to Mill Creek, I know for a fact she was denied, told she didn't make enough on Social Security. So how does that fit into your?
I
To look into it.
Oh, I
suspect I might be missing.
It's a subsidizing agent that handles that, Mr. Chairman, and I just don't know this process on how they do that. They do a lottery, so it's fair.
Right. I understand though with the lottery and I
Right,
know
but
that.
I don't know what there's an income maximum, but I'm sure there's an income minimum, because Mill Creek and any other landlord would want them to pay the rent,
Right. Okay.
so.
Don't forget middle school stuff.
All right, so now we're back to moving to June 14th. I think we have everything resolved so far tonight that we discussed. So we're going to move to June 14th. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Chris Belzo's aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Trevor Hensley, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, audience. Now, we just have a few housekeeping items. Gotta move someone to,
Okay. Nancy,
we got two that are gonna be,
6:30 here.
Thank you.
I think it's gonna work out
withdrawn
here.
without prejudice. We have, Nancy, Brighton Street, is he withdrawn without prejudice also?
No, he needs a question, an
of
extension.
time, that's right, extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe it was extended to June,
He wanted to get extended to when?
I believe his last extension was till June of 2021, which is why he needed to be on.
Oh, is this one of the guys with all those days or whatever?
No, we didn't even work out the days with him.
Yeah.
I don't think.
He does fall under that category.
He would.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of that.
But I don't think it would be much because it was June, and it was near the end of June,
Yeah, so we're just extending him.
up to June of 2022.
Right.
I'm sorry.
The original extension was to May 11th, 2021. And when does he want to go to?
I don't, I believe you, though.
He actually had another extension after that to June 2022.
Oh, June 2022?
Yeah, so we'll need a June 2023.
Agreed.
June 2020.
Yeah.
Brian, we still on the record or we
Thank
closed
you.
up?
I just want to, from my old math teacher point of view, the number of affordable units is a moving target. If you increase the number of available units by 300,
That's what they were saying, it's gonna-
There's currently, say,
8.6, there was, it could go down to
You add 300, now there's 3,000. So you've got to have a higher number to get to.
So that's what Greg had said at the other meeting.
Right.
We went down.
Are we closed?
We're closed on that.
One by one vote.
Okay.
Well, we're not closed, we're still,
All right.
we're just continuing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to fix my mistake.
No, I didn't want you to get into a jam by having all this.
Oh, no,
Thank
you
you,
can.
sir.
Appreciate it. No, thank you. No, I said,
Thank you.
when I read that first one, some good dyslexia, I read this one, and I
Yeah,
called it a site plan.
I did the same thing. I wrote it upside down to the wrong one.
Well, I'm gonna I'll fix that.
Specific. Specific. I can say that.
All right, so I have to, first of all, fix my blunder. 22-29 Anthony Durkin, 75 Marginal Street. I referred to that as a site plan approval, it's a special permit. So I'm going to revote that that is approved as a special permit, not a site plan approval. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All in favor?
Chris Belazos, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you. And now we have 22-10 Robert Manchester. I don't, he's already been read in.
Yeah, these are all, the rest have all been read in.
So now this gentleman is looking to withdraw without prejudice, 36 Everson Road. Does anyone have any questions on that?
No, thank you.
All right, then I would make a motion that we accept and give him withdraw without prejudice. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All in favor?
Chris Belazos, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Now we have Jay Robichaud and Siobhan Durkin. They're also requesting, is that right, 111 Ashburton? Am I looking at the right thing? I think I'm on the wrong page.
Oh, 2211.
36 Everson and 5 Columbia Road have requested to withdraw without prejudice.
That's on the second.
No, I'm
page.
on, okay, that's it, 5 Columbia Road, would like to withdraw without prejudice. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All in favor?
Chris Belazos, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Now we have the extension. Where is he? Which one's my extension?
Lampamato.
Michael Lampamato, 24 Brighton Street, he is requesting an additional extension from June of 2022 to June. He'd like to extend his current extension to June of 2023. Do we have a date on that, or just
I
June?
think it's the 10th.
June 10th, he's got a May 11th on here, so June 10th or May,
I
June
think it
11th?
was at the May 11th meeting last year
Right.
that we extended it to June, I believe it was 10th.
So we'll go June 10th. I want to recommend that we extend Michael Lampanardo, 24 Brighton Street, to June 10th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Chris Bellows, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
All right. So what else, Nancy? The only thing we have is the regrouping, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna reorganize. Since Lynn is gone, Heidi is asked to be the vice chair. I'd like to be the chair, and is there any clerk advocates? Larry said he'd do it if you don't want it, Steve.
Yeah, he can do it.
All right. So, someone has to nominate me if they want to.
I nominate Brian Murphy as
As
the chair.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Chris Bellows, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
I'm going to nominate Heidi Conway for vice chair. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Chris Bellows, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
I'm going to nominate Larry Keane as the clerk. Do I have a second?
Second.
Grover, so, all those in favor?
Chris Bellows, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
You voted for yourself, that's true.
Steve Feeney, aye.
All right, hopefully things will go smoother. So, are we done, Nancy?
We are done.
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Chris Bellows, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Aye.